It was sketchy to say the least.
That's awesome. Hey guys, it's Elias. Welcome to the channel. Thanks for tuning in. Today we have a special treat. As you can see behind me, we have a 2006 RSX Type S. But it's not like any other RSX Type S you've ever seen. There's a lot of modifications to this car. The main one being it's supercharged. So the owner, Ryan, has done so much work to this car, it's hard to even remember everything he did. Let me go ahead and show you a list of things he actually has done to it in case you're curious. So as you can see there is an extensive list of modifications, and from where you see it here, it looks fairly stock. This is what you would call kind of a sleeper build. You wouldn't really notice that this car is actually pushing around 350 horsepower from the front wheels. That's an insane amount of horsepower for such a small car. So why is Ryan getting rid of this car? Well, he doesn't want to, but fortunately or unfortunately, he's gotten himself a V8, a supercharged V8. A Camaro ZL1, and really you can't blame him for upgrading to such a fast car. However, we're going to be taking a look at this car. We're going to take a little drive and see how it goes when we go and take this car out on the road. Alright, so here we go guys. We are in the supercharged 2006 RSX Type S. And first of all, I gotta say, I gotta get used to it because it's got a few modifications to it. It's got a stage 4 clutch and a very lightweight flywheel, so you breathe on the throttle a little bit and the revs jump up pretty high. And you gotta be careful with the clutch positioning as well because it grabs pretty aggressively, which is what you want in a high horsepower car. So let's talk about the interior of the car first and go around and take a look at how well maintained the interior and exterior actually of the car have been. This is a 12-year-old car, and we went over the entire car. We went over the engine, the inside under it, and really there's a tiny bit of surface rust, which for a 12-year-old car you expect way more than that. And I think one of the main reasons why is that Ryan, and he's sitting right next to me, I hope I don't make him blush by saying this, he is extremely meticulous with taking care of his cars, his maintenance, his cleaning of the cars. I mean, when I saw the car, I'm like, wow, this is actually really clean. And for a black car, you know, black cars are impossible to keep clean. It looks really, really good. So yeah, on the exterior, there's a couple blemishes here and there. There's a couple of things that, you know, you'd expect from an RSX Type S being this old. It is a Honda after all. You know, I am wearing a Honda hat, but I know that Hondas do tend to rust. And actually, all of the panels on the car are original. You can see the tags on them still. So it's really good on the outside, and the inside's even better. There's one little tear, one tiny tear on the driver's seat. You barely even notice it. And when you're sitting in it, you don't see it. Everywhere else on the car is perfect. I mean, you wouldn't know that it's even a supercharged car by sitting in it. It feels like it's a very meticulously maintained and owned RSX Type S. And yeah, so that's the interior, that's the exterior. I mean, I love the head unit that he has on here. It's an aftermarket head unit. Normally I don't like aftermarket head units, but this is actually an Android one, and it hooks up to K-Tuner's K-Tuner View. You guys seen it on my Type R. He has K-Tuner on this car as well. We'll talk more about that when I talk about the way the car drives. But yeah, it's just a really well done interior, very, very well set up. I think this is probably the best RSX interior I've ever seen. So with that, let's go ahead and switch it up to the driving portion. this beast drive? Well, let's see. Wow. Sounds really good. So there you see it. It's not a slow car at all. And with that extra supercharger in there, I mean, it's really fast. So as you notice there, I did close the windows, and that's because this car still has its air conditioner. So let's talk about a couple of things that, you know, this driver cockpit has. By the way, I love the way the cockpit looks here. I think it's great. The RSX came like this, and Ryan has modified it to have the gauges where you want them. So on the left here, you got a methanol injection gauge, and that'll only kick on after 5,000 RPMs. It is currently on, so this cruise control button is what controls it. On the right here, you'll see a little gauge, an innovative motorsports gauge. It shows you your boost pressure and your AFR. AFR is very important to know if you're running too lean. That's a big problem. And of course, you have this Android screen here, which is awesome. You got K-Tuner view right there. You got your pressure as well. You got your RPM. You have your voltage, and the important things are down here. You have the IAT, you have ECT, and here you can monitor everything, because in a modified car, you really need to be monitoring as much information as possible. So how do we turn on the AC here? This is the button. See if I can figure it out. AC is on there. I think we're good.
Yeah. Crank it up.
Perfect. So that's the beauty of this car. It has air conditioner still. So with its extensive list of modifications, how does this thing feel to drive? Well, if you're taking it pretty easy, it actually feels really drivable. And that's because he set it up so that it's a daily driver. It's not gonna kill you on the way to work, on the way back from work. He actually drove this thing as a daily driver for quite a while. Besides that, he actually has a modification I've never heard anyone do. And he installed a electric power steering system in this car, and I've never heard of that. He basically took an electric power steering rack from the 2000 or 2001 Honda Civic Hybrid, and apparently it has electric power steering. He took that, put it in here, and modified the rack. He had a separate ECU on there. There's a whole bunch of wiring in there. He did a really good job on it. It's really well done, and I can say that it feels really good to steer. I mean, you lose no steering feel at all. This was a hydraulic power steering before, but because of the supercharger, you lose that function. He added it on, and he did it correctly, which I commend Ryan for immensely. I mean, I've never seen that before, so it's really well done. You can tell how meticulous he was with every part of this build. So I've been driving this thing for a little bit now, and just an overall overview of how I feel when I'm driving it. First of all, I guess every RSX has this problem, but I feel like I'm sitting on a crate when I'm sitting in the seat. I guess I'm used to the Civic Type R seat where you're sitting down low, and even the Prelude seat, you sit pretty down low in the dash. Here I feel like I'm sitting on top of the car. I guess it's something that you get used to if you own a RSX, but that's, you know, it's an RSX specific thing. It's not specific to this car only. Besides that, drivability, like I keep saying, is just really easy to drive this car if you don't want to get on it. You got to get used to the clutch, of course, and you have to get used to the throttle. But besides those two things, it's really easy to just drive around. We're putting around town, you know, 30 miles an hour, 40 miles an hour, no problem at all, no issues at all. Really can't say enough good things about that. And then when you really want to get on it, I mean, the power is definitely there. So do one quick little pull here. It just sounds really good. You want to keep going, for unfortunately we're not in Mexico right now, so we gotta take it easy. And that supercharger whine is insane. So to some people, a 350, 360 horsepower supercharged RSX may seem like too much car. And for such a lightweight car, I mean, it's really fast. You guys see, it's not a slow car in the least. But it's set up with traction control. Believe it or not, this thing has traction control through K-Tuner. K-Tuner has that, and this button right here, once this is on, traction control is on. It also has boost by gear, which I mentioned before, and boost by gear really reduces the amount of torque demands from the supercharger. So you have nothing in first gear, you get about half second gear, and then in third gear it gives you the full boost if you really want it, which I think is perfect for a car like this, especially since front wheel drive, you know, you're not gonna have the best traction, and it just makes the car that much more drivable. It really is easy to drive. You do have to pay attention to the torque steer. That's something that you have to get used to. The clutch you have to get used to, like I said. The accelerator pedal you have to get used to. But it's after about 10-15 minutes, honestly, I feel like this is my car now. I feel like I'm comfortable enough where I can drive this car around all day and not have an issue. So that's something to keep in mind if you're gonna do this to your car, if you have a car like this. Torque steer.
Yeah. Like when I said I first got it done, it was cold out. It was just, it was sketchy to say the least.
That's awesome. Get a little bit of torque steer. So a few of the modifications that I love that he did, he relocated the batteries in the back, the methanol tank, it's in the back as well. Yeah, the meth is back there and it works really well. It also has a bunch of fail-safes in the engine management system where if the meth injection fails, something else takes over it, and basically the engine is protected. He did not want to be one day stranded if he can't make it to work or something, because this, like I said, this was built as a daily driver. So everything is very well done, everything is very well protected, the ECU management is well done. It was tuned with K-Tuner by Derek, so you know that's done correctly as well. On these back roads up here, you could tell that the chassis of the RSX really does well with the extra power. The only thing I would kind of change would be some suspension settings, possibly the alignment. I do feel when you get on the power, it does like to give you a ton of torque steer, and that may be able to be tuned out with some suspension tweaking, but again, that's just personal preference more than anything else. I guess I'm spoiled by the Civic Type R. That doesn't have any torque steer, and that's pretty amazing to say that. That feels really nice. I wasn't sure if that was a cop up there.
Yeah, there's actually cops that always sit here, so that was a good call.
He is a cop. That's a cop right there.
Oh. That's a good call.
So we found ourselves a cop on a little run there, but my instincts kick in really quickly.
You caught that before I did.
But yeah, this car feels amazing to drive. I mean, there's not enough good things I can say about this car. Like I said, cosmetically, it could use a few tweaks here and there, a couple of touches. But other than that, this car is done and ready to go. This car is for sale, in case you guys are wondering. I'll put the link to the Craigslist ad at the bottom of the video, so you guys can take a look at that. If you're interested in the Pennsylvania area near Philadelphia, you guys can go ahead and take a look at that and contact Ryan if you want to buy the car. Hopefully the car will be sold soon. I think I have a few people that want to buy it soon, so it may not be for sale for very long. And look at that, we just went through those railroad tracks. The suspension set up so well, barely even felt it. I can't get enough of that supercharger whine. And now that I'm comfortable with the car, I feel like I can toss it around and have a lot of fun with it. So yeah, thanks for watching, guys. If you have any questions, put it down below. Happy to answer them for you. And I'll catch you guys next time. Peace.